Hey, what's up, Internet? My name is Nikki G, and today I'm coming to you with a book haul. So I hope you guys enjoy this. I ended up accumulating a lot of books in the past sort of 6 months, and I kind of wanted to share what I have had just so I could remember what I ended up buying because I don't want a repeat of the same books. So just a disclaimer of this, I have a decent job where I can actually splurge on books, and also I work part-time at a bookstore, so I also get a discount. And granted, most of my books are used except for my manga and certain paperbacks that I wanted to get. And some of them are also arcs. So I hope you guys enjoy the video, and if you've read any of the books, let me know, and I'll catch you when it's over. Laters. Okay, so let's start off with ARCs. If you don't know what ARCs are, they're advanced reader copies. So the first book I'm going to talk about today will be The Mex Kid. This does not come out until August of 2023. This fall is actually a memoir. This follows a guy's childhood story of how he had to go basically on a trip to go down to Mexico to pick up his grandpa, and it was 10 family members in total because I think there is a total of 8 kids, which I think it's insane, and he is the middle child, so we all know the middle child syndrome here. So this is basically him being first generation American and never being down to Mexico before in his life, and this is the first time, and it's his story of how his adventure went, and I'm kind of curious. This is actually technically a kid's book, and I'm just really excited to know the details about it. The main thing I'm kind of curious about is if it's set in the 80s or in the 20s or whatever, so it'll be a cool read. Okay, next book will be Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. This is her second book. Her debut book was Luckiest Girl Alive. I personally have not read it, but I've been told multiple times to read her books. But this one caught my eye. This does not come out until October 3rd of this year, so you could catch it then. This caught my eye mainly because of what it says, the synopsis in the back, because it reminds me of Ted Bundy. It follows a young woman who is reliving her traumatic past in the 70s when she was in a sorority. There was a murder that occurred. And so it flashes back and forth between when the murders occurred and to her as an adult now. And so I'm kind of curious to know what the twist is. It kind of gives me Once Upon a Time in Hollywood vibes. So I'm wondering if she ends up saving someone, sort of like in that movie, if you've seen it or not seen it. No spoilers. So yeah, I'm really excited to end up actually reading it. Okay, let's move on to paperback books. You're gonna see some of my used books in this one, so I hope you enjoy. Let's start this off. So first book is Tinfoil Butterfly by Rachel Eve Moulton. I think that's how you pronounce it. This gives me hitchhiker vibes from the movies back in the 80s. This follows a young woman who is driving and she picks up a hitchhiker, and this hitchhiker basically attacks her and leaves her for dead in this remote town that she doesn't know anything about. It kind of reminds me of Silent Hill because from the synopsis it kind of makes that maybe she's in the in-between of death and alive. And when she's there trying to find help for herself, she runs into a boy who has tinfoil on his face as a mask and asks for help, and let's just say it doesn't turn out too well for any of them. That's basically what I'm getting from this, and I can't wait. I got this off of Book Talk, the horror side, if you're curious. So the next one is episode 13 by Craig DeLu. I think that's how you say his name. This one I have been keeping my eye on. I got off of Book Talk Horror. This intrigued me so much because it keeps popping up if you're a fan of Archive 81. It is a podcast and it was a Netflix series as well. And this story follows paranormal investigators who go into this, I want to say, like, asylum. I'm not sure if that's really where they are, and it's their episode 13, so I think they're filming it for YouTube, and they want to debunk everything that's going on with scientific facts, but let's just say it goes into grave encounters for this one. Okay, next book is Wolfine by Jack Woods. I got this from Goodwill. It's a second-hand book. I'm so excited. The synopsis for this is basically a doctor has to go back to his childhood hometown because something happened, and he believes he just wants to have a relaxing time back at his hometown, his childhood hometown, but when he returns, a bride goes missing. I feel like the plot of it is he might be a werewolf, and he might have killed the bride, or maybe the bride's a werewolf. I don't even know if there's actually werewolves in this book. And on the cover, it kind of looks like a bat. I'm not gonna lie, that's the main reason I ended up picking it up. Okay, next book is The Sluts by Dennis Cooper. I am not going to lift this book anymore because I feel like I'm going to get flagged for this. This right here should be rated NC-17. This is not for the faint of heart whatsoever. If you are triggered easily, this has all the triggers. It basically surpasses the line of kinky sexy time to the max. I was so curious about this book, mainly because I keep seeing it on Horror Book Talk, and I wanted to know, and all I have to say is this surpasses what horror fiction is. Like, this is way too freaking real for me to even describe what it's about. I do not do Hostel. I never like Human Centipede. Anything with body horror I have never liked. But once again, my curiosity got me, and I'm kind of happy I read it, but at the same time, I wish I could bleach out my brain from reading this. This follows a group chat, sort of like Reddit, back in the early 2000s, and it basically rates prostitutes, I like to say sex workers, on this site, and they rate it, and there's one notably couple that basically gets like these crazy reviews, and it's their story and how one story ends up becoming a legend, essentially. Once again, I warn anybody who ends up picking this up. Okay, let's end with a lighter note. It is Fake Dates and Mooncakes by Shirley, and this is a LGBT cozy romance book. Essentially, this young man has a bakery and he wants to make his mom proud, and he falls in love with this rich guy who wants to help him. And it's supposed to be really cute and very like heart warmth and everything, so I can't wait to end up reading it. It's so cute. Okay, next stop is our hardcovers that I've collected. So let's get into it. So the first one is The Curator by Owen King. This is a sci-fi fantasy book. This follows a young woman named Dora who essentially wants to know what happens to you after you die, especially because she just lost her brother. I'm assuming they had a really close relationship from the synopsis. And so she knows that there's a secret society, but they end up disappearing a long time ago. So she ends up getting a job in a museum right next to where the society used to thrive. And that's how the story goes. The next book is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. I'm really excited for this book. I picked it up and I kind of got horror store vibes from him in this one, so I'm kind of curious to see how it turns out. This follows a young woman who ends up having to go back home to her childhood home because her parents ended up passing away, and she has to go back there to pack up her parents' belongings and try to sell the house. And her brother, I'm assuming, does not like this whatsoever. They've never liked each other, supposedly. And so I'm assuming why it's a haunted house is probably from the bad blood they both have. They probably manifest something, because that seems like a Grady Hendrix trope right there for me. So I can't wait to read this during the spooky season. If you've read this, let me know what you thought. I know a lot of people have some ifs, ands, and buts about it, so I'm kind of curious. Okay, next book is Piñata. I'm not gonna lie, I picked this up mainly for the cover because I thought it was really awesome. The synopsis for this, I was very intrigued as well, was it follows a Mexican folk tale. So it's about a woman who ends up being in charge of restoring an abbey in Mexico, and she decides to take her kids with her so they could get to their roots and understand where they come from. And they come upon a secret room that has these amazing artifacts. And once again, like every spooky horror movie, they mess with that artifacts. And when they go back home to the States, they find out they brought something else evil with them. This is giving me Exorcist vibes, and I can't wait to end up reading this for spooky season. If you read this book, let me know what you thought. I'm very curious, just because, like I said, I haven't seen this anywhere on BookTube. Okay, next book is by TJ Klune, and that's Wolf Song. I'm so excited to have this in my hands so much. I have been such a big fan of TJ Klune, where he used to write all his books on this like little independent like bookstore that did not do so good for their authors. So I'm excited to have this. This is a werewolf love story about friendship, family, and essentially romance. And it's just so sweet, and I love it. So if you're a big TJ Klune fan, highly recommend reading a Greek Creek novels, because I think this is the main reason why he was put into the map for books. And I'm so excited. Look at this cover. It is so freaking beautiful. And I cannot wait to read the series. I have always loved Ox and the Bennett family, and then also all of them. I can't name them all because I feel like some of them were spoilers, so if you haven't already read this. This is so cute. So if you like supernatural romance, that is not just between the couple, but it revolves everyone who's involved, highly recommend this. It will make you laugh, it will make you cry, it will make you so upset that you have to get the rest of the series. This, I have to say, I don't want to call it a cozy romance because there is a lot of stakes in the series, and there is a total of 4 books in the series, and I can't wait to collect them all. Okay, the next one is by Elliot Page, and that is Page Boy. This is his memoir, and all I have to say about this is it's kind of self-explanatory what it is. We follow Elliot Page's journey to the person they are now, and I can't wait. The next book is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. This is one of my anticipated reads for this year, so I can't wait to read this for spooky season. This follows a young woman who gets accused of killing her whole family back in the 20s or 30s, sort of like a Lizzie Borden kind of vibe woman, and she gets acquitted for it, like Lizzie Borden did, and it fast forwards to the 80s when she's elderly and she needs assistance to live now, so she needs to hire like a at home hospice nurse, and this hospice nurse is very young and she doesn't know anything about her patient, about her life, just what she needs to live, essentially. And so her patient decides to tell this hospice nurse that she wants to tell her the story of what happened that night and why she was the only one who survived. So I'm getting really big Stephen King vibes because, number one, it's set in the coast of Maine, and also it kind of reminds me of Dolores Claiborne too, if anybody else got that vibe. Okay, so my last sort of hardcover book is also a TJ Klune book, and that is In the Lives of Puppets. This is just a retelling of Pinocchio, and I don't know how I feel about that because I've never been into Pinocchio, but I mean, it's TJ Klune. How bad can it get, right? Don't answer that, for the love of God. So I can't wait to read this. Yeah, and also that artwork. Look at how pretty this is. Okay, now moving on to my last category, and that's Stephen King books I got. Okay, starting off is a Richard Bachman book that it is Stephen King, if you didn't already know that, and it's The Regulators, and I'm obsessed with this cover so much. So the premise for The Regulators is about a sort of like Main Street USA. It's quiet. It is the typical like suburbia, like paradise utopia for everyone, but something is missed one summer day when a van just randomly comes down the street and creates chaos, and then it is a fight versus good and evil. Dun dun dun. And the main reason I love it so much is because it connects to the next book, and that's Desperation by Stephen King. Oh my god, look at that cover. So this one is the reverse from the other one. So instead of it starting off like a typical USA utopia, it's actually the opposite, where it is a rundown old school mining town that just had hard times and is basically infected by something evil. And this poor family ends up coming across this town, and they have to fight for their lives to survive this evil, desolate place. And I just love the cover so much. Look at it. The next book is For Past Midnight by Stephen King. This is actually a short story book that has 4 short stories in it. So the first one is the Legulars. I can't ever pronounce this stupid name. Essentially, this became a TV miniseries. So if you're curious to watch that, that was kind of like a really scary miniseries when I was a kid. And this follows a red-eye flight that actually sort of ends up going into a different dimension, and they have to find their way back to our world. It was just really creepy. The next one is Secret Window, which was also turned into a movie, and it starred Johnny Depp. This always gave me the Shining vibes for like Jack Torrance. With the similarities, because it's about an author who basically takes a retreat to the middle of the woods in a cabin, and he ends up getting cabin fever in the woods. And so yeah, so if you it sounds so much like Jack Torrance, except Jack Torrance had his family until he went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. The next one is The Library Policeman. I don't know how to describe this, because this is just really disturbing short story. If you thought that scene in It was disturbing in the sewers, yeah, you're gonna find this very repulsive. The last one is The Sun Dog short story. This one is the main story that freaked me out from this collection, because this is the main reason why I never ever wanted my picture taken. So this little boy ends up getting a Polaroid camera for his birthday, and when he tries to use it, he realizes that something's wrong with the camera, because it only develops picture of a dog, and every single time he takes a picture, the dog seems to be getting closer and closer to him, and he doesn't know what's going on. So it's sort of like a survival story of how this boy tries to convince everyone that he's in danger, and no one believes him because he's a kid and something's just wrong with the camera, you know? And then the other one is The Stand, and I am so happy to have this edition so much because of the cover, and also because it's the complete and uncut version. You thought It was a big boy. This one is even bigger, especially since it's uncut. So this one is self-explanatory. This story revolves around good versus evil. It starts off with a virus that goes worldwide and kills off 95% of the population. And the rest of the 5% have to basically decide if they are evil or good. And they have to try to end the other side. It's just about humanity, and about how instantly everything could go wrong in a matter of seconds. And my favorite part about this whole story, besides the main plot, is every single chapter you get to, there is sort of like a small little story about someone in the world who's still alive, and how they basically don't know how to hack it. And so in the book, it tells you that out of that 5%, 2% of the population end up dying off just because they don't know how to live in this new society they are in. And you get that every chapter, finding out how different ways someone would die. The crazy one was about a little boy who fell through a well shaft and basically starved to death because he broke his legs and he couldn't get out. And that still sticks to me to this day. Okay, and last but not least, it's Stephen King Night Shift. This is also a short story collection book, and This one I ended up getting as the new cover because I really thought this was cool. I also have the Shining one and the Salem Slot one, so I kind of wanted to finish the collection with this specific cover. So this one, most of you might already know because it has the Boogeyman in it, Children of the Corn, and much other short stories that everyone kind of knows of because they became either movies or miniseries or something else in it. And once again, this was one of the books I had as a kid, and it freaked me out, especially in Night Shift, because that's one is about rats, and it was so gross and so it freaked me out. It just freaked me out. Okay, that is it for this book haul. I do have a part 2 coming out that's strictly my manga because this video would have been an hour if I did not cut it into parts. So that will come out next week, and I hope you come back for part 2. I hope you like part 1, and like always, I catch you later. Laters.